Hi, this is Brett Knowles from PM2 Consulting. This is a really quick overview of how OKRs and AI are the perfect partner. They're the perfect match for enabling you as a CEO to get your job done. Here's the issue. The issue is that our jobs are super complicated. Let's take a look at a simple index, the amount of data that's in business. So if we take a look at what your data pyramid looked like in 1980, by 2000, it's growing exponentially, rate that's phenomenal. Literally, it's about a 500% growth over time. And what does that mean? Well, it means that there's this huge pile of data that you need to get your brain around to help manage the business. And in addition to the data, our businesses are far more complicated than they were, and timelines are far more compressed. But as a CEO, your responsibilities are still the same for the enterprise. So here's the thing. OKRs sit on top of this mountain of data, and they're all about providing you focus. So the idea is, what are your level one drivers of success? And that allows us to sort of start building this pyramid from the top down. What are the few core things that you as a CEO need to take a look at? And from there, what do I need to do to achieve those objectives? What are my level 2 drivers? And from there, what are my level 3s? And so on. You can drill this down as far as you need to go. Level 2 is how far many startups go. Level 3, even larger enterprises sometimes only go that deep. But the idea is we're now building the pyramid from the top down. I don't have to get data warehouses and organize all that data. So what does that mean? It means that as I'm managing the enterprise as CEO, I don't need to look at that huge data pyramid. I can compartmentalize what I need to look at. And so based on the work done by McKinsey, there are 6 core things that you need to do as a CEO. One is obviously setting up that corporate strategy, making sure the organization beats the odds. And so you drill through this data. The top down is setting your strategy and seeing that the organization's aligned and making sure that we're executing against it. That's the top-down view. The bottom-up view of that loop is about the operational insights you get as the organization works against those strategies and tries to execute. So that cycle goes through, and the cadence of that used to be once a year, and maybe it's once a quarter, maybe it's once a month, maybe it's even once a week. The idea is I got to cycle through that data and continually be monitoring what we're doing about strategy and strategic alignment. Second in the list, and these aren't in priority sequence, second is about the organizational alignment, which is about, managing the performance and health of the business. And again, you're cycling through the data to make sure that's working. Your third responsibility is about, building up the team and processes and putting the interpersonal stuff, the dynamics ahead of the mechanics to make sure that we're working together as a cohesive team. Obviously, you need to be managing the board. You need to manage up and help the directors help the business. Again, cycling through the data. The external stakeholders, helping answer for them the big, long-term why. Why does this organization exist? And then finally, your own personal norms, making sure that you're doing the things that only you can do. And again, I don't need to look at that whole data pyramid. I can now use the focus of OKRs to focus on the core things I need to make sure I get done. But that still sits on top of that whole data pyramid. And so the idea here is around that data pyramid, you need to make sure that the OKRs allow you to focus on the things that need to get done. You may need to, on occasion, drill into that deeper data. And if you do, you effectively build that drill down, that straw in those places that you need to without having to build the entire thing. So what does AI bring to all of this? Well, AI brings, I'm going to say, 6 core capabilities that helps you get that job done. Thing one is it's 7 by 24. So you only have so much time to work on these 6 responsibilities, whereas AI can go off and do it for you 7 by 24 and be constantly monitoring those things. Secondly, it's going to give you back unbiased observations. So it doesn't have preconceptions or assumptions as it takes a look at the data. And we all do, just based on our experience and training and so forth. It's outstanding, of course, at doing these repetitive tasks, right? So, for example, combing through the data every single day, that's tough for us to do as humans, but it can do that repetitive task day in, day out, no problem. It helps reduce human errors, like mistakes that we all make, whether they're mental calculation mistakes, oversights that we have. It doesn't have those liabilities. nor does it approach the data with any sort of preconceived or predictive assessments. In other words, we might know we always have a failure with this product, and so I look at the data assuming that that exists. It doesn't have that preconception, and therefore it's basically asking open-ended questions. And just simple digital assistance. So for example, you might know that every time I see a certain performance, I want to send someone some encouragement. Or every time I see a different performance, I want to send them a nudge to pay attention. It can go ahead and do those mundane tasks for you. So that's what we think of in terms of AI and where it helps out with these tasks. What people don't often think about is there's actually, I'm going to say, 6 modes that the AI can help you out. What do those modes look like? Well, one is you can set it out as an explorer. So you can sort of task it to look for things. But again, it's not going out there with a preconception. AI just looks for abnormalities in the data. And once it finds an abnormality, it's going to comb through that whole data pyramid I showed you, trying to find any other coincidental or coinciding data trends related to it. So it's just raw exploring it. You can task it to go off and do that, and it's going to do it 7 by 24. A different task is as sort of an automator, right? Where what an automator is what I mentioned before. It can send out an email as soon as a certain trend is seen or a certain direction or a certain event. And so it just automates that for you so you don't have to do that repetitive task. You can set it up as sort of a decider. And so what that looks like is it makes sure that the correct action is always taken. So let's say, for example, you already have a risk process in place and you know if a certain risk happens, these are the 8 steps that must be taken. And you've proven those out, they're documented, they're approved. And all AI has to do is sort out if that event's occurred, and then it's going to implement that workflow for you. So it kind of decides and goes off and executes. Slightly different is you can send it out there and ask it to recommend things, right? So in this situation, what it's going to do is it's going to take a look at a situation and provide you several options. And those options might be ML, machine learning, where it looks at how we've solved that in the past, or it might be AI. It's going to create its own set of answers, but it's just going to give you that list, and then you go off and get to make those recommendations. In some cases, you just want it as an eliminator, something to bring creativity to the table. And it can do that by interpreting a business issue based on ML and AI and begin to give you creative ways about thinking about the problem or creative ways of solving the problem. And then finally, as an evaluator, right? And in this case, what it does is it processes options. So such as you might have different strategies, you can bounce it off AI, and AI will give you some feedback on those strategies you have. So whether you're doing scenario planning, coming up with a new strategy, it's tough for you to find people to bounce these ideas off of. AI can be that evaluator. You can bounce ideas off it. It'll give you feedback in sort of a protected, risk-free environment. So it's important to note that not only does it do the 6 tasks we talked about, but you can actually assign it a mode to operate in. So it's not just, the AI in your car, which has a set series of algorithms to deal with, frankly, a very small sample set of problems. In this case, you can decide how you want to use AI in that environment. So what's the executive summary? You've got a whole bunch of data that you have to manage across. We don't have to organize it all. We can start at the top using OKRs and focus on the things that matter. Thing 2, AI brings some capability to the job that augment what you bring to the job and get rid of some of the human frailties. And then finally, you can assign it to work in a particular mode or all modes so that it's not just a robot making decisions for you, but being part of the management process, acting in a way that helps you get your job done. Now, I'm hoping this has given you some insights into how OKRs and AI partner together to make your job as a CEO much more effective going forward.